Hello everyone and welcome to an incredible game also from round 3 of this year's Sharjah Masters. We have a game between Grandmaster Platon Galperin and Grandmaster Sanan Sjugirov. If you guys remember Sanan Sjugirov, the old Magnus Carlsen nemesis, he defeated him twice, once in 2010, the other time in 2020. Okay, 2020 was an online event and it was a blitz game, I believe. But in 2010, he defeated him in a classical game, and it is to this day considered one of Magnus Carlsen's greatest defeats. If you haven't seen it, I have made a video on it. It's a beautiful game. Will be the first link in the description below, so check it out. And also I will put the second link, the second game that he played against Magnus. And for those of you who haven't heard in my previous video, the game that we were all waiting for, world champion Juvenjun versus Pragnananda, ended in a draw. It was a fairly uneventful game, so I decided not to show it, but pretty much every game ended in a draw in round 3. These are just the top 10 boards, so you can see that all of them were drawn. So I had to search deeper to find this one, but you know, the lower you go, the more interesting the games become. It's usually how it works. So let's check it out. It's a wonderful game, the Slav defense, and you will see how dangerous it can be for both sides. So let's check it out. Platon has the white pieces, and he opens with pawn to d4. We have pawn to d5, c4 going for the queen's gambit, and now c6, declining it with the Slav defense. We have pawn to e3 now. Usually you will see knight to f3 or knight to c3 or even c captures on d5. Pawn to e3 is the fourth most popular choice here, and it's not played that often. So okay, knight to f6, knight to c3, we have e6 now, and here just knight to f3. We have knight b to d7, the main love of the semi-Slav, and queen to c2. This is the Stoltz variation of the semi-Slav. Bishop to d6, and now bishop to d3. So just continuing development, we have castles, and d captures on c4. We have bishop captures, and now pawn to a6. We have pawn to a3, preparing b4, and usually or something that you might even expect, even if this hasn't been played, you would expect something like b5, bishop to b7, rook to c8, and only then something like c5. And it's pretty much always the exact same setup that black uses. The move order can differentiate a bit, but here we have pawn to c5 right away, challenging the center. D captures on c5, bit of an unprincipled move as it's capturing away from the center. You would also maybe consider a rook to d1 here, but it does allow pawn to b4 to be played with tempo, and then maybe the bishop can come to this long diagonal. So you know, it's a bit of a trade-off, but okay, we have pawn to b4, chasing away the bishop back to e7, and now the position has been reached before a few times, even in top-tier games. For example, Alexander Belyavsky had it against Ivan Cheparinov, and Artur Yusupov had it against Sergei Karyakin. But in all of those instances, it is white who lost these positions. So white has never won this position. There are a couple of games that ended in a draw, and the top-tier games ended by black winning. And in those games, bishop to b2 was played. Also, knight to d4 is a known move. But here we have bishop to back to d3, and it is now as of move 13 that we have a completely new game. So let's see how the game continues. Pawn to b5, and okay, of course you want the bishop on this long diagonal. We have pawn to e4, and this is the beautiful moment of the game that I think that we should really consider for a moment, because here you might think, okay, I just played b5, I'm just going to continue with my natural development, bishop to b7 and rook to c8. But here Sanan did not play this. He played bishop to d6, and it's the correct decision. I will just show why. And the reason is, after bishop to b7, then white can play e5. He played bishop to d6 in the line that we've shown to stop this. And it seems like it's not that big of a deal. Okay, it opens up this diagonal, but it also gives black some ideas. Bishop captures on f3. What happens now? Okay, e captures on f6, bishop captures on f6, and now you have to play g captures on f3. So it seems like, okay, you've messed up white's pawn structure in front of the king. Why not play this? Well, black will also come under attack. The h7 pawn is hanging, the king will come to h1, the rook can come to g1, but also some very forced lines are possible here, like rook to c8, putting pressure on the knight, bishop to b2 defending, and now bishop to e5, preparing to bring the queen into the game. But now look at this, pawn to f4, but now queen to h4. not going for glory. It's basically offering a draw. Queen to g4 followed by queen to f3 will be a perpetual draw, which black can accept by capturing, white can accept by capturing on e5, or you decline it with bishop captures on h7. Now queen captures on h7 is bad because you also pick up the bishop in the end. So king to h8, bishop to e4, and now queen captures on f4, going for checkmate here. But there's rook f to e1. I mean, this line is so weird. Queen captures on h2 check, king to f1. You're not worried about anything. The bishop covers the h1 square. But now look at this. Bishop captures on c3, bishop captures, and queen h3 check, nicely connecting with the bishop on c3. King to e2. Beautiful move, threatening rook to h1 to win the black queen, and now you will see rook captures on c3, queen captures on c3, white gives up the queen, king captures, and rook to h1 will force a perpetual now with bishop to h7 check. Or you can even be super funny about it. You can even sacrifice a rook just for good fun, and then force a draw with the other rook, bishop to h7 check, and now you just force a draw. You don't really care. So that's the reason why after e4, bishop to b7 is not the precise move order. Bishop to d6, the move that Sjugirov played, is the correct way to play, and now e5 is impossible. Unless white wants to sacrifice it just to open up this diagonal, but for the moment it doesn't really make all that much sense. So bishop to g5 was played, bishop to b7, and now queen to e2. Adding another defender here, but also just getting the queen away from the c2 square. We have queen to b8. Now Sanan puts his queen and bishop on this diagonal, and look at that bishop pair. Now it is most certainly fully operational. We have h3, h6, chasing away the bishop, bishop to e3, and now knight to e5, putting pressure on the light square bishop. So rook 8 to d1, rook 8 to d1, and now we have rook to c8, getting the other rook into the game. The knight is undefended here, and now knight captures on e5, bishop captures, and knight to b1. Now if you can get your knight into the game, let's say knight to d2, knight to f3, should be okay, but the e4 pawn is hanging. But is it really hanging? Because you know that at the end of the line, once everything gets traded, then bishop captures on h6 is coming, opening up a discovery on that whatever will be on e4. But here Sanan says that it's perfectly fine and that it is in fact great for black. So bishop captures on e4, bishop captures, knight captures, and bishop captures on h6. Now threatening queen captures knight here, but just knight back to f6. Now you don't have queen to g4, and also the bishop is hanging. So how do you continue here? Well, the best way would be to call it a day. The adventure is over, you go back, and the game continues. Maybe you can even put the bishop on c5 and have a great position. But here, pawn to f4 was played, trying to get captures and captures, but basically just chasing the black bishop back. But this gives black a whole lot of new options, because now both of these diagonals are open, and that can be very scary for white. And I've seen this happen in many lines of the semi-Slav. If you guys remember, there's even a game I played in the Croatian league where my opponent played pawn to f4. I also had a similar setup, and I was able to checkmate him very quickly. So bishop to c7 was played. We have bishop to g5 now, threatening to mess up a black's pawn structure, but just knight to d5. And now already you're having some problems here with the f pawn. It's being attacked 3 times, and what you should do here, and it's not an easy move to find, you should play king h1. But it seems like this is too difficult a move to find. Point now is that you cannot capture on f4. Black has to find some different way of how to play this, and then f5 is coming. Problem is, if you play bishop captures on f4, then just rook captures on d5. You remove the defender of the bishop. It's that simple. And if knight captures on f4, then queen f3, and that knight will remain there for a very long time. Even if e5, you can play something like knight to c3, and then if rook to f8, because you have to defend that f pawn, then even rook to d7, and all of a sudden it's not black who's attacking in this game. But okay, after knight to d5, we have pawn to f5, and this, well, this really ruins the game. This really ruins the game because now there's a very particular set of moves that you can find in order to gain great advantage here. So feel free to pause the video and try to spot this series of moves while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting this brilliancy. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is bishop to b6 with check. Indeed, by playing f5, the bishop on g5 is undefended, and the queen is now coming to g3, and yes, then the bishop is coming back to c7. So that's why it's really, really dangerous to open up those diagonals. King h1, queen to g3 now, attacking the bishop, and now we have bishop back to c1. Here, with queen g4, you are still fighting. It's not going to be easy, but you're still fighting. Let's say captures, rook to c4, you will lose the g4 pawn, and then, well, you can hope to survive maybe. But after bishop to c1, the game is now definitely over, so feel free to pause the video. I'm just kidding, I already told you what the winning move is, but a bishop to b6 check was the winning move, because now you've basically switched positions. You don't have a queen-bishop battery, you have a bishop-queen battery. Now just bishop back to c7, and there's no defending this. Checkmate is coming, or you can start running away with the king, which is what Platon did. King to g1 was played, queen to h2 check, we have king to f2, now comes bishop to b6 check, and you don't have a move. If king to e1, then just queen to g3 check. If rook f2 just captures, you're bringing a rook to e8, it's game over. So in the game after bishop to b6 check, king to f3 was played, but now, for real, feel free to pause the video and win the game for black once and for all, while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on realizing that the only thing standing in our way of delivering queen to f4 checkmate is the bishop on c1. So makes it, pretty self-explanatory. Congratulations to everyone, as I have no doubt that everyone found this. Rook captures on c1, and it was in this position on move 31 that Platon Galperin resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Now you just lost material, and there is no defense. I mean, you're down material, and if you act on that, then queen to f4 will be checkmate. There is no other way to play this, and of course that's why after rook captures on c1, he resigned. There is no good way. Even if you try something like rook captures on d5, okay, you're first gonna deliver a check, and only after queen captures, capture on d5, and now you're just up a full rook. Of course, you are completely winning. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful game, and I think it can all, be brought down to this moment where white played e4, which is a fine move. But yeah, if you just continue with something that feels normal, like bishop to b7, rook to c8, and you know that those pieces belong on those squares, if you are a semi-Slav player, it's just that bishop to d6 in this particular line is slightly more precise and allows black to even play for a win, not just allow white to force some sort of a draw. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nicely done by Sanan Sjugirov. I would like to thank David Kimura, Petr Marinov, AMD Risen Enthusiast Group, golfsoftware.com, and Paul Hinamund for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.